Hello, everyone. This is Nuclear Lightning. Some of you may know me as Ed Trice. I am a monorail conductor here on Twitter. And a few of you had some questions about how I possibly track everyone's retweets and how they follow all, and how my reward system works for people who actually do a vast majority of the work here. They are rewarded with more seats in the monorail train. So I'm going to show how that's done right now. So here you see a gigantic Excel spreadsheet. On the far left is everyone's Twitter handle. You can see if you have a very big monitor, probably isn't too blurry. I have a 24-inch display here that it's capturing the video on. If you're looking at this on a cell phone or a much smaller screen, it might be pretty horrible. I'm going to scroll a little bit faster now through the list so we get down to the bottom. I know it's over 5,000. And the exact count, oops, I scrolled past it. Looks like there are 5,012 people in this list. Actually, 5,011 because row 1 is the Twitter name. The column heading. Now, every one of these users has a car number associated with it. You see that's going from left to right here. I'll zoom by this pretty quick. Each of these cars represent one of my tweets where I list all of the followers therein. I call them cars. Some people call them trains. I tend to think of trains as being composed of cars. So you can actually have one train with hundreds of cars in it. And everyone keeps saying, put me on the train, put me on the train. What you really mean is get me into one of your cars. In my case, I have 575 cars that have gone out. But as you'll be able to see, I have space here in Excel for many more. Thousands, in fact. So I made this colossal matrix. So let's just do a quick calculation here. There was 5,011 users times 575 monorail cars that went out. So there are actually 2,881,325 different pieces of data I am tracking. Now, if you happen to have followed everyone in a car and retweet it, why can I not say that word? Retweet it. Everyone in a car, you get a number 1 next to your name here. As you see, this is Abracadabra. Just happens to be alphabetically one of the quickest people in the list who has, you can see, I mean, this guy's done a lot. I think, as a matter of fact, he may have retweeted every car I have ever pushed out. I'll have to look that up later. Abraham Mama, you can see she has a 0 in cars 1, 2, 3, and 4. She missed those cars. She picked up at car 5. She's got a couple retweets there, and so on. So if you have a 0, you haven't visited that car, you haven't followed everyone, you haven't retweeted that car. It's very important to follow everyone first before you retweet. And that is because Twitter does not necessarily have to allow you to retweet a car to someone who isn't a follower, okay? So you have to follow that person to be able to send a retweet out to them. So let's go to this sheet here. This is kind of like a summary list, a master list that collects, it sums all the ones going across, tabulates your total of compliant retweets, and it will sort the list from greatest retweets to fewest retweets. And you can see Lake Monster CL is up in the number 1 spot with 524 retweets captured as of the last time this report was run. That's another thing. If you ever see that your retweet count is low, it means that the report just didn't run yet. And it didn't capture your most recent retweets. You can imagine I spend 6 hours a day just pushing the cars out. In 1 hour, a day in between pushing out monorail cars, I have to capture and collect this data. And I'm going to show you how that's done in a little bit. So you can see some of my favorite people ever: Lake Monster CL, L Forever 1, AJ Stetson, Earhart Jr., Abracadabra, Cuds 1246, Kim Sean, Herman Ron, Real Carlin, and all these wonderful people that are very high up in the list. They have an enormous number of retweets. Okay. So how do I capture this data? You might be saying. Okay, here's what I actually have to do. I have this. This is kind of like the workhorse of the data management utility right here. This sheet I call data. I have to go back to Twitter now, and we'll start with, by the way, the new monorail rules. All those people that I mentioned that were outstanding retweeters, I'm making them mandatory required follows in order for you to be considered for my monorail line. These people have done so much outstanding work. I created 7 master lists, short lists of their names. If you do not follow everyone on this list, you are not eligible for seating in my monorail line. Okay, so now I'm at car 568. Let me put that in my Excel spreadsheet right here, 568. Now I hit Shift Tab to be able to bounce it back from column B2, from cell B2 to cell A2. It's a little trick in Excel. Shift Tab will jump you back. Now I click on this car, and Twitter brings me up with this view. I scroll down a little bit, and you can see it's been retweeted 49 times right here. And look, oh, as soon as I bring my mouse over it, it turns from black to blue. So I click on this. When it's blue, that means there's additional information here. That's Twitter's way of showing you it's actually a hot link. I click on it. It says this has been retweeted 49 times, and lo and behold, here's the list of the retweeters. Now, as you can see, this doesn't exactly look like 49 people. And this is why I must peruse this list more than once per day. It gives me only the most recent people when I visit it. So eventually someone's going to get pushed off the list if someone new retweets. So I have to visit this a couple times a day. Now I just did a copy, Control C, of all those names, and now I go into Notepad here and do Control V. This is pasting all of this, what looks like it's all the text associated with these profiles of people who actually retweeted the list. So now what do I do with that? I do Control A to select all, Control C to copy. I go back to Excel. I'm in cell A2. I do Control V to paste it. You can see it just pasted all that stuff there. Now I do Control F, which is my little quick macro that replicates car 568 in column B until it finds a blank space, and then it stops. So this will now associate every name that's in column A will be tied to a completion task for retweeting car 568. Now you see all this extraneous data over here. Well, what is that doing? Well, it's stripping out all of the nonsense in this 269 rows of data it just captured. But I'm only interested in people's usernames, not that this girl was born in North Carolina, she's a Jesus freak, pound MAGA, blah, 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 military post. That's great. That's fantastic. Love you, dear, but I only want to capture your name, and you love Tom Brady, which is a shame because the Philadelphia Eagles, my team, beat the Patriots in Super Bowl 52, so there. Anyway, so that's just what I have to do to capture one level of people who have done the retweet. Now let me go back to Twitter. I'll close this out. Let's do car 569. So I put 569 in here first just so I don't forget. Shift tab bounces this back to the A column. I go back to Twitter. I bring up the car that was retweeted. I see. Oh, by the way, POTUS Trump Goat is listed in black here. That means, unfortunately, he did a no-no and Twitter suspended his account for whatever reason. Could be temporary, could be permanent, I don't know. But here we see it's been retweeted 46 times. It just got highlighted in blue. I click on that. Brings up this list. I scroll to the bottom. Copy it from bottom to top. Control C. Now I'll show you why I do this notepad thing first. If I click on this cell in A270 in Excel and I just do my Control V now, look what happens. Okay, I get all this other extraneous stuff, the pictures, the cute little icons that you have, like the flag and the praying hands and, Hillary for jail, Hillary for prison, all that is not conducive to Excel, so I'm going to hit Control Z and undo that paste. But if I go to Notepad first and I do a Control V now, it kind of strips all that stuff out. As you can see, this is just pure text, and this is what I want. So I do Control A to select all, Control C to copy, click back into Excel, Control V, puts that in there. Control F is my secret little macro to replicate car 569 down to the bottom. Now I'm going to save that here. I'm going to go back and close this out. Now I'm going to show you how my program turns this into that matrix list. Now here you see all this stuff, this XXX. Well, what this actually is, it's just looking to see if there's a name in there. And if there is a name, column U will have the person's name. And then you see this mysterious stuff. Well, what's this 568? What's this 4508? What's this UW? And then finally you see UW 4508. Well, 4508 must be the road number that at Teddy 791 is in. So let me go to my follower list and go to row 4508. It's down here towards the bottom somewhere. 4508. And look, here's row 4508, and there's Teddy 791. So it uses formulas to figure out the row number of everyone that has followed and retweeted that's in this matrix. It found Teddy 791 in row 4508. Now let's go back to data and see, what is this UW referred to? So UW 4508 is actually a cell designation here in Excel. Once you get beyond your 26th column, you've run out of letters. Column Z is column 26. So Excel will start over with AA, AB, AC, etc. So we're all our way out here at UW. Let's see what UW is. And we're still in the RST. UW is car 568. If you look at the top, here's column UW, and it's car 568. So that tells me that this person, Teddy, was someone who retweeted car 568. Likewise, when we go down the list, Roland 777 69 660, he did it as well. So look at this. It says this person is a new user. This is another formula I use. If you look up here in this cell, it's pretty complicated. If error VLOOKUP something, find somebody, the number 2 false, quote, new user, blah, blah, blah. So either it's going to declare someone is a new user, or the data is ZZZ, which means it's not related to a new user, or it's going to find your name, as we saw previously with Teddy. So this tells me this person's a new user. Well, if he's a new user, what row number is he in that massive spreadsheet? The answer is he doesn't have one yet. So before I do anything, whenever I have new users in this list, and you'll see there might be another one. Here's another one. Shari Jordan 15 was not a follower of mine until recently. This person is listed as a new user. So I created this macro that goes through this list and will give me all the new users first. It will assign them rows into the spreadsheet. It will resort the spreadsheet alphabetically, populate all zeros for the new users, keep everyone else's counts exactly where they are, and then give them credit for the car number that's associated with the monorail that they successfully retweeted. So, I mean, I know that's a mouthful, but you can imagine there's no way I was going to do that manually. So let me go to my macro list here. Now this macro do everything actually calls all the macros down here. Obviously this procedure has to happen in piecemeal. It has to insert the new users first before giving anyone else credit. It has to recalculate all the new row numbers for the users who are already in there that are now being reassigned because new users are being added to the list. So it does a tremendous amount of calculation before giving anyone credit. I'm going to hit run now. So now, I don't know how much of this you're going to be able to see from this video capture utility, but blink. Okay, now we're done. Abracadabra, 575 retweets. AJ Stenson, 575. Earnhardt Jr., 575. Lake Monster CL didn't capture anyone yet, but you can see now, here's my list of retweets. Here's my list of followers. And everyone else has all their data. They're all resorted now in this new list. We had, how much did we have? We had 5,000, and we were at row 5,012 initially. So it must have found 1, 2, 3, 4. It found 5 new users in that list, and it resorted everyone. And now we're down to row 5,017. That means 5,016 of these are users. The first row again is reserved for the Twitter name column heading. So that is how my program is able to track everyone. There's another procedure that is part of the train building program. The train building program captures this data and marries it up with those who actually did follow everyone. Sometimes you might miss someone. Doesn't give those people credit. They do not get credit, and it will come back in here and remove that number 1 from their column. This is just a preliminary procedure. So I just wanted to show everyone this because, I mean, this program, these 2 programs I have, do a tremendous amount of work, and I have to go in there manually and pull that data out. And it's at least a 6-hour-a-day process. And you can see right here, this little yellow thing, this is actually a Formula 2, if you look up in here. It computes what people need to be able to get on the monorail. It says here, there's been 2,334 Twitter followers that have collectively made 15,721 retweets for an average of 6.74 retweets each. Therefore, you need 7 retweets to board this monorail. That means if you followed everyone in a monorail car and done a retweet, you get 1 credit. If you've done this 7 times, you get 1 ticket for the monorail, like the entire train. Okay, there's a difference between a car and a train. If you're seated in a car, you're using 1 ticket. If you have done 14 retweets, by this metric, 14 retweets qualifies for 2 tickets. So your name will appear twice throughout the entire monorail, or train if you like to use the word train. So if you've done 70 retweets, your name will appear 10 times before the train is finished. You will be in that list of followers to follow back 10 times. And that's the reward system that this train and this monorail uses. And I think it's fair. I think it's perfectly fair. If you are doing the same amount of work as everyone else, you're entitled to a seat. If you haven't reached the retweet level yet, if say you've done it 6 times, you only need to retweet once more to get on board. That's it. You don't have to do another 7. You just have to do 1, and it keeps this running average computed in the spreadsheet. And I think this is a fair way, rather than having a conductor who just gives his friends seats. I think this is completely unbiased. This is the fairest way to do it. And I guarantee you, the software will always take care of those who take care of this monorail line. It's a self-perpetuating monorail. It goes on without bias. Even if you have made a minimum number of retweets, you still get on board. You know, you don't have to be someone who has to beg the conductor 20 times to get a seat. You will automatically be awarded a seat. And I will maintain the data. If you prove that you have done some retweets that are in between my report generator, and I go back to your profile and I see that you in fact did retweet some of the cars, and I go into your list and see that you did follow the people that were in those cars, I will update the spreadsheet manually. So I'm always in this process of correcting the spreadsheet, making sure it's up to date, making sure it's the most accurate, so it's fair for everyone. And if you think that's worth $1, I appreciate that. You can Cash App $1 to me. It's certified purchase. I say that on just about every monorail car. People give me a bunch of crap for it. They think I sit around and do nothing. Well, I don't. I came up with perhaps the only fair train/monorail system that's being used on Twitter, and I hope you found this broadcast useful. Thank you.